Sabrina Beck, and welcome to another information-packed session of Morning Market Call. I am here with Joel Tolby, and we are going to be talking about social media today. Joel, tell me about Google+. It has had this huge hype about it.
Yep.
It was by invitation only. Mm-hmm. Lots of fun-packed accessories. It's supposed to beat Facebook, but it opened in September, general use, and it's fizzled. So tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, so Google Plus had a great start. You know, there's a lot of hype around it, and invitation only, like you said, and it built lots of momentum. And so they thought it was ready to do the public launch. And September 20th is when that happened. And 22nd and 23rd, you saw like the peaks of their traffic, and then it started going down. They lost actually about 60% of their active users, which is quite surprising. You know, so analysts, suggest that people from Facebook were curious about what's this new Google Plus, went over to take a look at it, and then they just went right on back. And so that's the trend that we saw right now.
Okay, so when did you start using Google Plus?
So I was an early adopter, or so right after school ended, and during the summer, I hopped on to Google+, got invited. It was a lot of fun. I loved the way that they managed your relationships. You know, you weren't locked to the label of friend, you know, because sometimes you're acquaintances with people, or you just met the person, and on Facebook, everyone's a friend. And so we had, these circles in Google+, and a lot more privacy, because you put a post on your wall or your stream or whatever they call it, and you can select which circle it is that sees your post, and a lot better. Now since then, Facebook has introduced lists to kind of help combat the circles, because people love that privacy, love that control, that granular ability to post to just a group of friends or group of acquaintances or what have you. So Facebook's trying to catch up, but I think they still have a long way to go as far as feature set, although they do have the brand equity in the social media realm. Another example that I really like about privacy is photos. So how many times have you had someone tag you in a photo and you go, oh my goodness, what is that? And you click on it, you see the photo, and it's not even of you. It's like if some picture, some random thing, and you're like, why am I tagged on this photo? So Google Plus does it a little bit differently, where every time someone tags you on a photo, you have the opportunity to accept it or decline it. So when you tag someone, it says, we have sent that person notification that they've been tagged, and they have to accept it, which I think helps a lot with the privacy issues, especially when employers now are looking at social media to get to know people in the hiring process. They'll see a search right away of different photos, and you don't want the typical bar scene, the college days, not here at BYU, mind you, but things that you don't want your employers to see. And Google Plus does a great job at keeping that the privacy in check.
Okay, that actually brings up a question that I have. Now, with all of our MBA students that are trying to find jobs, they're trying to give a certain presence to the recruiters and to these businesses that they're networking with. They want to be able to present themselves in such a way and create their brand that differentiates themselves from the other applicants and the other people that are going for these jobs. Now, what would you recommend better? What do you think would be better? Would it be better to try trying to differentiate or keep? Should have backed up, but to keep a kind of a separation between personal and business? How would you use Google and Facebook in that aspect, since these recruiters are going to be looking up your status and, and your profiles and whatnot on these social sites? Sure.
I mean, so people want to get to know who you are, as an employer, and Facebook and Google Plus are a great way to do that. Now, with Google Plus, you can share your photos with just your family or just your intimate friends or your different circles, which makes it a lot easier for employers to see exactly what you want them to see. The public image that you're presenting for yourself. It's a little bit harder to do in Facebook. They're trying to get better at that, but it's a lot easier to kind of segment out different brands, if you will. You have your family brand, your work brand, your social brand, and you can do that really easily in Google as you keep track of how you're posting, uploading your images and whatnot. interesting you should mention that with with working. LinkedIn is a social media site, but it's geared specifically for work and professional networking. So I kind of see Google Plus kind of filling another niche of social media, where MySpace is now for music and LinkedIn is for professional. I'm thinking Google Plus is probably going to be maybe towards the the geeky people or the tech savvy. That's most of my friends on there are very tech savvy. They're usually geeks about something, whether it's technology or not, and I think that's cool. It's a lot of fun, and I consider myself a geek. So I love Google Plus, and I think that's where like maybe more intellectual conversations will go on. I don't know. Whereas Facebook is still for like the mass social appeal, and where everyone's grandma can be on there and get caught up on what the grandkids are doing, that kind of thing. So that's kind of where I see Google Plus going in the future.
Okay, Joel, I am going to put you a little bit on the spot and ask you one question. One last question before we go. What do you think Google Plus could do to improve their user ratings and improve their use and get that 60% of their users back onto the site using Google?
Good question. I think if they bring back some of the so before the public launch, it was kind of like invite only, kind of mysterious and cool because not everyone was on it. And I think if Google can bring back that that fun and excitement, that buzz that they had before the public launch for everyone, that's what's going to bring them up again. Don't go to the mass, to the masses and mass appeal. Let's specialize a little bit. Bring in a focus on that, and I think Google will then spread back out to the masses as it has that appeal. Because people know what it is. Right now, they're like, what do I do? Facebook, Google Plus. I don't know which is which, but if they know what Google Plus is, then I think they'll use it a lot more, and they need to define what that is to make a bigger splash.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think they're not exactly sure what their target is, and that's the reason why their usage has dropped dramatically.
Yeah.
Joel, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show with us today and talking about Google and social media and the different aspects we have of building our personal brand.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. And tune in next time for another great episode of Morning Market Call.
MMC is brought to you by the Marriott School of Management in association with the Brigham Young University Department of Communications. MMC is made possible by a generous donation from Larry Tasjan and Gary Williams and is produced by Brett Weller, Todd Castagna, Mason Chin, Joel Toby, and Sabrina Beck, with line producing by Beth and Brian Grimmick. For more information, find us on Twitter or at morningmarketcall.org.